The Tuba Mirum starts with the bass lead and it goes on with the tenor, but the bass lead, I think, is striking in the sense that this is a very fatalistic, this is a very pregnant tone and a very pregnant and heavy phrasing for a male lead, vowels, very long bars, and very monotonous sort of composition, and a very, very flat, very undeniable tone. This is not a discussion for negotiation. This is somebody who has a lot of accents and a lot of authority in his subconscious, collective subconscious vocal role, and yet there's a lot of discussion going on below this or above within the orchestra. And the irony is, it's actually quite soprano-ish and very playful in it's almost a Latin beat. So if you can imagine the juggling and the activity that goes on beneath the male voice, priestly male voice, it's really quite, I wouldn't say joyful, but it's also pregnant with activity, in a sense that this would be the fetus moving within the womb. Requiem. More stupid et natura. This eloquent and very elegant phrasing, but pretty powerful and full of insisting capitals, is bounced by this hesitation, this vast hesitation underneath in the orchestra, actually playing tiny roles, and I mean tiny not in a social sense, but in a phrasing, in a timing sense, in the writing. And those semi-playful roles actually play a very sharp role in that completion of the social picture, and so they are as necessary as the bass. Subconsciously, you don't just want a bass, you want completion of the whole picture, so you can actually get the message more efficiently. The message is not fully comprehensible, it's not fully credible if you don't have the Greek chorus, if you don't have the children, if you don't have the women bouncing off, cushioning, receiving the message and interpreting it or echoing it or reacting to it. This makes it more credible and more multiplied. This orchestra is, I believe, in this Tuba Mirum, this underneath this gravity of the bass and of the tenor, actually the orchestra is pushing them up whilst being extremely discreet, and this is what makes the great talent to somebody like Mozart, because you actually don't really suspect it, but it's there and it subconsciously works, marvels, because it's a reaction. It works for the listener as the listener. It anticipates the listener's reaction for them. So really what's left is the rest of the equation. The remnant of the this equation, very theoretical, of course. The audience is then playing this, and or the sum total of what's going on with the orchestra and the crowd played by the orchestra, and or what the bass is doing plus part of what the orchestra is doing, i.e. the bass plus one of the roles within the orchestra as identified as interpreted by one listener or another. I don't suppose all listeners will listen to that orchestra and understand the same thing subconsciously. Mors stupidet natura, cur surget creatura, judicanti responsura, per scriptus proferitur hic quantum. Underneath the tenor as well, you do have this orchestra thing, and it's a resurrection thing to me, because we're talking about a lot, as I stated in the beginning, a lot of gravity, a lot of attributes to men in choruses and in vocal roles. Those men announce a lot of problems, a lot of situations in society which needs to be prayed for in this context, because it's a requiem. We're talking about resurrection and death failing, and you have a lot of existential weight, and yet underneath it you have this bouncing lightness. And it's, I suppose, the way a good filmmaker would think. If you are a good composer, you manage to also lighten the load by sizzling out some roles, by chiseling something that would be lighter to make the whole luggage a bit more bearable. We want a happy ending, even if it's a horrible horror, a horrible murder story, or a horrible sad tale. You want a happy ending, you want the nasty guy to be caught, and in the same or in a similar way, a composer would actually balance it out so it's not too heavy on the listener, because the listener might subconsciously resent this heaviness if it's too much to bear. If it's not done properly, the listener will feel slightly uncomfortable and subconsciously resent the composer. So a good composer will also do that. More subitat natura, impeccable weight carved within the character. This storyline, this storytelling is really imprinting itself, sculpting itself onto the bronze of that personality, and this carving is really shown within the accents and this drama, this over the top, pointing out facts to get attention on every single bar almost. Both the bass and the tenor do that, and I suppose it depends on the interpretation, but it's also part of the composition and also part of the spirit of the whole passage, the whole movement. Also, I'm guessing that if you have this heavy tuba, the heavy horn instruments at the beginning, then you do have to sort of contrast with the voice. When the voices come in, you do have to chisel a bit more, consonants and teeth and weight, just to give it some shape. You do have to change from the legato and the phrasing, the linear thickness of the wind instrument. You have to really give another dimension to the rest of the composition. The composition is so different. The phrases are the same more or less, but the human voice adds so much difference. It's written in such a different way. So to give it extra power,